Good morning, Patreon. First things first. Let's talk about that. First things first. This morning, no, that's not first things first. Late last night, a large storm blew through. And by blew through, I mean stayed right over the top of my property and woke me up in the middle of the night and kept me up in the middle of the night because there was so much thunder and lightning that there was no way I was falling back to sleep again. Our father-in-law, my father-in-law, was staying here, actually just left this morning. And he had his little puppy dog with him that was not a big fan of the thunder and lightning. And so it came into our room no less than 6 times and acted a fool. Said father-in-law had taken an Ambien and was sleepwalking and got himself a glass of apple juice and a blueberry muffin in the middle of the night. Which then I finally fell back to sleep right around 4 a.m. Woke up around 5:30 to the smell of something burning. Electrical fire. Not quite, but almost. And so I run to the main load center, the panel in the house, and start knocking breakers. And the lights in the house are all super low, then regular, then really high, then low again. And I'm like, my reptile brain is going unbalanced load. Cool, get some coffee. Yeah, I see it. Be safe. So, luckily, somehow, the coffee pot, by the hand of the Most High, had been able to produce coffee. But I turned the main breaker off after my oldest came running out of her room because the light bulbs in her bedroom were exploding. Good times. So, coffee in hand, I go outside, get my multimeter so that I can start checking the line voltage coming into the house, to realize that the top half of a pine tree is laid across the drop wires to our house, which come from the property next door off of a pole where a transformer hangs onto 2 more poles to our house. And in between the transformer and the first pole, the drop wires down, but not all the way down, about 6 feet off the ground under tension with this half a tree on it. So, me being me, I got my hot gloves and my chainsaw, and I went out there and cut that half of a tree off of it. Go out to the meter can, pull the cover, put my multimeter on the lugs, and I've got a severely imbalanced load, like 70, 170. So, it's like 70 on one leg, 170 on the other. It should be about 120 each. That's a problem. So luckily I'd already turned the main breaker off in the house because I don't want my fridge or freezer or air conditioners or computers or anything else sensitive exploding. Call the power company, whom I've done a lot of work for in the western half of the state of Oklahoma, and said, hey, we got an outage out here. This is what's going on. Drop wires down, definitely got a bad neutral, might have jerked a lug on the transformer as well. And so then I go back over to the drop wire and look, and the strand, the bare wire that runs from the pole to the house, also functions as your neutral. It's a grounded wire. Well, the strand had been crimped, where the 2 ends come together, they put a crimp over it, and that crimp had pulled apart under the weight of that top half of that tree. So now there's a guy from Oklahoma Gas and Electric out here putting all that back together, sitting in my driveway currently. so that we can go back to the business of being your normal, everyday, preparedness-minded, homesteading, doomsday, conspiracy theorist, motivational speaker type things. However, but in all of this, my wife instantly transitioned from electricity to propane. Let's keep this coffee hot. Awesome, right? We still got and there's oil lamps burning in my house right now. We still got our kids out the door on time for the school bus. And, and we catch some flack from people who are like, I can't believe you let your kids go to public school. And I'm like, man, Oklahoma is one of 2 states in the union that's not dependent upon the federal government for their curriculum. Our kids pray in school every morning with their teachers. They pray before games, softball and baseball games. They're actually learning useful things. I've been very impressed by Oklahoma public schools, at least here in this little town that we are in. Now, I can't speak to major cities, but here there are good people, good teachers, good administrators who are raising good children with us, not for us, with us. So I've been very pleasantly surprised by that. And so we still got our kids out the door to the end of the driveway on time for the school bus. I still got my requisite 1.5 quarts of coffee in me this morning, and got this tree cut up. And then we went up to Grandma's house where part of her floor that needed to be replaced was, like subfloor plywood, was almost done. So we finished that. Me and my father-in-law got that screwed back together. Grandma had made a pot of coffee as well, and so caffeinated a little further, and came down here and started shooting videos for y'all. The point that I'm trying to make, there's 2 of them. One is that in the moment, I immediately started ordering priority of what needs to happen immediately. Okay, well, the electrical, we can live without electrical, but I don't want my house to burn down from an electrical fire. So let's shut that down, literally and figuratively. Next, let's get this tree off the line because that's my responsibility. Technically, it's my neighbor's responsibility, but they don't know the first thing about cutting trees off of power lines. I do. That was my job for a good long while. So I did that. And I had to take some fence down to get over there to do it and then put that fence back up. The next, go check on Grandma. Grandma's good. Okay, cool. Drink coffee with Grandma. Finish her floor. Come back. Make sure my wife is good. My youngest child is good. Right, and so there was not some disorganized and running around like an idiot response to this issue. It was just organized and logical. Now, organized and logical is kind of the thing that I excel at. That's maybe my superpower, is organized and logical. Definitely the logical part. Sometimes the organized falls by the wayside, but that's a product of doing, half a dozen things at the same time. But, point being, there was an orderly response to the situation. And like I said, my wife instantly transitioned from we have power to no power. Non-issue. So what on your end can you do, have you wargamed, to be able to instantly transition from power to no power? Because the entirety of our human existence, for the vast majority of people who are watching this video right now, is based upon the flow of electrons. So what are you going to do when the electrons stop flowing? Well, I'm just going to build a fire, T. Did I mention that it pissed rain here for the last 12 hours? You can build a fire, but why? I would much rather just fire up the propane burner, which we have when we have propane, right? So do you have propane? Do you have firewood? Can you build a fire inside and make coffee that way and cook your food that way and do all those things that way? Do you have oil in your lamp and is your wick trimmed? And I mean, that's metaphorical as well. metaphysical and metaphorical. But literally, is your lamp full? Is your wick trimmed? Can you light it? Right? Can you grind coffee without a coffee grinder, electric coffee grinder, if you have whole beans like we do? Just as an FYI, if you put them in a Ziploc bag and take a hammer and to start with, then a mortar and pestle, yeah, that works. As does a grinder like this. But then, so after all that, we still did our morning chores. We fed the animals, watered the animals, picked up a little bit around the house. I know there's stuff I'm forgetting. Oh, we were supposed to be on mission in Muskogee today, and canceled that. It was just myself and my wife that were going to be there. But positions of strength. Hey, I can't come help you because my stuff's jacked up right now. So I'm going to unjack my stuff first, and then we're going to come help you. So we will do that another day. We already have plans to do that another day. Should we? My wife's not here. We'll probably freak the OG&E guy out. But then again, we might not. This is Oklahoma. So, the first point is that there was a calm and orderly response to the situation. The second point is that while we had plans to go off-site and help other people, today we are staying on-site and helping ourselves because we have to be good in order to get other people good. So, first things first. And then to that end, I mean, there's the practical, tactical, like I said, do you have lamp oil? Do you have propane? Do you have firewood? Do you have, can you make coffee? Can you make food? Can you do all of those things? Can you gather water and filter water and do all of those things right now without electricity? And if the answer is no, cool, work on it. If the answer is yes, cool, work on it. And then the other point here again is positions of strength. I can't in good conscience go help somebody else at their place if my place is not good. And a lot of people would say, well, I don't know how Christian that is, T. It doesn't really matter about your place. You should go out there and help people. To which I would say, we already do go help people quite a bit. And frankly, quite a bit more than a lot of the people that we come in contact with who claim Messiah. But that's neither here nor there. But also, and this is a teaching of Gary Vaynerchuk, the king of four-letter words. But he says, and I believe he's right, that you have to be selfish first in order to be selfless. And what he means by that is positions of strength. If you're not good, how can you possibly get anybody else good? And this is something we've talked about here at this channel for a year and a half or 2 years, however long we've been doing this. I think we've been on Patreon a year now, which blows my mind. But I think about a year and a half-ish we've been doing this. And this has been a core concept from day one. If I'm not good, how can I possibly get you good? Right, and that's not just in the physical, me to come help you fix your house when my house needs to be fixed, but where's my mind at? It's very hard for me to think about your issues when I'm dealing with my own issues. And so that's something to think about as well. How do you perpetuate your well-being so that you can operate from a position of strength going forward? So that you can be a blessing to other people, so that you have the time, energy, liberty to go bless other people, to be a blessing to other people. So, and speaking of, it looks like OG&E guy is done with his work, so I'm gonna go. But there's a little ear nugget for y'all, Patreon. Shalom and blessings.